You're listening to the WB Download, coming to you from Wheel & Builder's showroom in Studio 1C. We are a podcast centered around building custom homes, the customer experience of building a custom home, and a really entertaining listen from many great guests and interviews that may or may not have anything to do with building. I'm excited to share with you their voice and their stories that will enhance your idea of the custom builder world. Well, hello again, everybody. It's Jeff Whelan here with Whelan Builders, coming to you on the WB Download here on this Tuesday, August the 8th, 2023. And man, I cannot believe that it's August the 8th, 2023 already, man. I mean, it just flies by. But hopefully you guys have had a great summer and you're still enjoying the summer. Like I said last time, I always forget that summer continues on usually all the way up until November. I hope we get it that long out of there. October gets a little bit weary at the end of it. But hope you're enjoying your summer. We've got some really good weather that we've had here, warm weather. Looking for some more rain again, because that farm needs some more rain. But something's going to happen between now and our next podcast is my mom birthday will be August 11th. I'm not going to tell you how old she is because that's up to her. But happy birthday, Mom. I hope you're listening. I hope you're listening. As they said on the movie Old School, I don't know where I'd be right now. Probably face down in a ditch without you. Anyway, I love you. Hope you're having a great day on your birthday there. Hope we're celebrating somewhere for a week. The farm's quiet. Like I said, we got through the county fair season there. We did 2 county fairs in Butler County and Warren County down here. We were able to get out and support the kids by buying a couple of their projects, and that was really cool. Always a good time to get to the fair and catch up with people that don't get always to get to see, don't get to spend a lot of time with, get to see their kids and watching everybody working hard on their projects. And then, football's here, and we have our first game coming up this Saturday in Huber Heights, and we're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to rolling through this season. It's always interesting for me, like I said, every year about coaching is getting to the end of the year, because I love to see the progression of these kids and seeing how they perform and how they've improved throughout the year and see where we end up at. So we're 6th grade football in Lebanon, Ohio here. And, size is a little bit of an issue, but not the size of our hearts. I can tell you that. Those kids have got heart of gold. So we're looking forward to that. And then, we started another home up in Oxford. Dug the basement last week, poured the footer, and now we're rolling on with the walls here this week. And that's been a long time coming. We've worked with these people since I met them on Zoom during COVID. And this is these last 2 jobs that we started up in Oxford. Last 3 jobs, man, maybe I start looking at Oxford and slowing my pace there. The last 3 jobs that we've done in Oxford, I met all 3 of those people during COVID on Zoom, and we're just now starting their house. So we've been through, they've been through some personal issues. They've been through some different things. We've been through pricing and repricing, plan drawings and redrawing plans. There's a lot of different things that took effect into it, and I'm just so glad to see it come here and get started. It's a relief, and they were really relieved too. They were excited to see everything get finally put into gear. We received our plans for Home Rama 2024 last week, and got it out for pricing right now, and looking at the design on it. Man, it's going to be a really cool house, so I'm pretty excited about that. And we also began drawing another plan for some folks over in Indian Hill on a big job that we're going to have over there. So that's going to be pretty cool. And these people are awesome people, and I'm so excited to be able to build their house. So things are just kind of moving along here. We're not at a huge, crazy rush pace. We're not slowed down by any means, but and we're moving what we can. So that's what's happening right now here at Whelan Builders and around my personal life, around everything that I got going on. I will tell you something else is that some exciting stuff, because I don't have anything else to do. But I decided to start helping the guys plan our 30th class reunion from Ross High School. And so, I think I saw them guys were struggling a little bit, called them up and said, hey, let's get together a committee and start working on this. So I'm pretty excited about it, because I love to go back and see all these people from high school. And it was some of my more fun days in my childhood, being there and getting to know everybody. And I'm looking forward to getting that thing put together and getting to see everybody. So 30 years I've been out of school, which means, out of high school, and I graduated college in 1997. I've been doing this a long time. I'm old. People say, "Man, you're getting old." I said, the getting's done, man. I'm here. I'm old. So today's podcast is unfortunately me again, because I didn't line anybody up to have an interview with. We've been busy, and everybody else has been busy during the summer, and trying to get people lined up to do interviews is pretty tough. So, which is fine. There's plenty to talk about. We talk about building houses. But, somebody said to me the other day, said, "Why don't you talk about the cost of building a house? Why do people think things are so expensive?" And everywhere you go right now, everything's expensive. Everywhere you go, all the time. I mean, when I go out to dinner or go somewhere, I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe how expensive this is. So where are we at? Let's talk about the cost of building and why things are so expensive. Are they expensive? Are they too expensive? What's the question here? What do we really need to look at? So I'll tell you this. In 1997, 98, my dad was building 2 different neighborhoods down in Harrison, Ohio. And these homes started in the 150s. And that includes the lot in the 150s. And so in 2015, I took one of those plans and built it as a rental property that we have up in Mainville on a $20,000 lot. And just my cost alone on that house was $205,000 on a $20,000 lot. That's crazy in that short amount of time, which was probably, it's probably due to a lot of different things, but man, I just can't get over. I look back at it. I'm like, how did it get that far out of control? And so that's just one example. Where did things go crazy at? Everything gets more expensive, whether we like it or not. Unfortunately, we end up paying more and we get the same exact thing. A lot of times, this is in life, not just in the building business. A lot of times it's in the building business. We pay more for gas than we did many years ago, but our cars still run the same. We pay more for cheeseburgers than we did years ago. We probably get shitty service over it, but worse service now than we did before. I know we do. But we're paying more to get a cheeseburger. Is the products or service? Does it cost more? Does it cost that much more? Let's look at the cost of building a home. Is it the labor? Is it the materials? Is it greed? What is it? What drives this? So let's start with expectations. And I tell you what, I think things are too expensive. And I think things are too expensive, but everybody calls me a tight ass, but I'll tell you this. I think things are too expensive when I don't really know what they cost. I'll look at something and somebody will throw a number at me and I'll be like, shh, what? And then I start thinking, I'm like, well, I don't even know what it's supposed to cost anyway. If I go out right now to look at a new pickup truck today, I'll get hit with sticker shock. I'll look at it and I'll be like, that's stupid. I'm not paying $100,000 for a pickup truck. I'm not paying $80,000 for a pickup truck. And I'll just be like, no way. So what I'll do is I go shopping and I start looking around and I'll start looking at if I'm looking at a Chevy, and I'll go look at a Ford and I'll go look at a Dodge, and then I'll go look at used vehicles, and then I'll start looking at it going, well, I see a used truck over here with 180,000 miles on it. It's 6 years old and they want $60,000 for it. And I can buy a brand new truck with no miles on it, warranties and everything that come out of there for 80,000. I'm probably going to go and buy the new truck. Now I'm starting to realize what it costs, and I just need to understand that. And this is on me at this point. Am I going to do it? Can I afford it? And was the first truck that I looked at, was it that far off on what reality is? Am I willing to afford it? And I think that's probably the biggest thing. And we talked about this a little bit the last time on the podcast. If you can afford it, will you afford it? Or do you just want to pay less and make yourself feel good about it? When you talk to a builder about wanting to build a home and the budget you want, I think it's a very important and vital conversation, because you want to make sure that the builder is honest with you. Because I'll tell you that I've rarely had anybody come to me and explain to me and said, hey, we've got $1 million to spend, and they're explaining to me that they want $1 million house. Most of the time they've got $1 million to spend, and the house that they're describing to me is $1.5 million, $1.8 million. And it's been like this for how long I've been here, 27 years. When somebody come to me and said, hey, we want to spend 500. Well, the house they were describing to me was 750 or 800. And it's just the way it goes. It's an important conversation. So the builder has to say, hey, here's what we think it's going to cost. Here's what we can do. Here's ways to reduce the cost. Here's ways here's some variables. Here's some things that can happen. Understanding pricing. So when you're talking to a builder, what's included in the price. Is the land included? Is excavation included? Lot improvements, utilities such as septic, sewer, gas, propane, electric, water, driveway, any and all of these. How much and what's the distance on them? Because that drives that's a huge factor in the cost of homes. Is if you're in a neighborhood, it's probably already there. If you're out in the country, we've had this on this podcast before. Those things all take a big toll into it. Are the tap-in fees, building permits, the builder's risk insurance, supervision, real estate commissions? Are these things all things that are brought to the table that are driving the price of your house more expensive? That are most of them are necessary. That are necessary to build your house. So let's break it down. Land purchase, building materials and labor, site-specific expenses, and then what I call the additional expenses. So land is pretty easy. It's what the cost of the land is. You go out and look at a piece of land. Somebody wants $500,000 for it. Somebody wants $100,000 for it. It's what you pay. And so there's your cost of your land. Materials are like 2x4 shingles, mechanicals, and those kind of things. And the land or the labor is the manpower, what it takes to build, install, deliver, all of those things, that it goes into the house. So like I said, site specific cost are land clearing, culverts, grading outside of the normal excavation of the home, utilities, that need to be developed by the builder, distances, driveways, and when we put a driveway in, it's not just laying down gravel, especially when it's a long distance driveway. There's culverts and things that need to go in there. There's permits that go along with it. There's different kinds of gravel. There's felt. There's all kinds of things. Septic design, septic install. There's so many different things that happen on these offsite lots. Are those included, and what's the cost of those? The additional expenses that I call them are permits, tap-in fees, inspection fees, transfer tax, CAT tax, which is commercial activity tax. And I had one of our representatives so politely put it one time, hey, they're going to get you dying or they're going to get you while you're alive. So they got rid of the death tax and they put the commercial activity tax in there. Either way, they're going to screw you. Commissions, portalets, dumpsters, energy raters, plans, architectural fees, insurance for liabilities, workers' comp, builder's risk, and then the builder's profit. These are all the expenses that come into. So you have the cost, and then you have these things that happen on top of the cost of what it takes to build a house, and then and commissions and so on. So let's break that down. So in all this, where does the most expense come from and go to? Where has the most increases gone through the years? What makes a home so expensive? And is it expensive? Yes, absolutely it's expensive. It's one of the single largest expenses that you're going to ever have in your entire life. Depending on what your life is, but it's probably going to be one of the most largest purchases you've ever made in your entire life. In our homes, we're not a bargain basement builder. So, a tract builder, we're a luxury custom home builder. There's always a budget, no matter what the customer, no matter who the customer is, no matter what the dollar amount is. There's always a budget that we have to meet. So we're working to it. No different than anybody else. We have different specifications. We have different specifications that we're trying to conform to. Our house designs, selections, and all that. They're different than most homes. So while we have to pay attention to the numbers, we're not beating it down and trying to do things like a tract builder. In tract building, production building, everything should be value engineered, meaning that room sizes are specific, even numbers to fit dimensional lumber, because they come in even increments, which means then the drywall sheets are even in those rooms on the ceiling and on the walls, which are even numbers. Everything's laid out exactly the same. And then even down to the carpet. So, the carpet people, they buy it as what they call a drop. And so the carpet roll only comes in certain widths and it can't get any wider. So when you make a room, which I think is 12 feet, if you make a room exactly 12 feet, then they come in there, they've got it already cut from the shop. They kick it and tuck it and they're done. Makes the labor easier, makes it less expensive. Foundation walls on those tract homes are straight, no offsets, probably, 8 foot tall which is 8 inches wide. There aren't anything special. Few roof changes, you look at the front of the roof, the main roof goes up and back, and then there's maybe 2 gables on it. Not much different there. And everything's done with the materials and are used at minimum code regulations. We always say here that we don't build by the building code, because the building code is the minimum of what you have to do. And people who are building our houses aren't looking for the minimum. In our homes, the foundations, they jog in and out. The roof jogs in and out. The roof framing and sheeting takes longer to do than building the whole house. So that's a big difference there. We deal with odd dimensions in order to accommodate certain things for our customers. A lot of things that are different. In a track builder, you have standard selections, packages, just like light fixtures, A, B, or C, cabinet package, A, B, or C, and that's it. You don't have any other freedom to do anything else. We're a blank slate. We deal more with allowances on these items, which then increases labor to install those items, because there's so many different, if you go buy a light fixture, and we know it's not just some simple little light fixture that we got out of our $800 allowance for a track build. It's a $2,000 light fixture, and it's got crystals on it, and it takes 2 hours to install it, plus the 2 men to hang it. That stuff costs more money to do, and you can see that. I'll tell you this, and when you talk about anything that goes on in building, and probably anything that goes on in anybody's profession, I tell our customers this all the time: when you put just in front of what I'm about to do, you don't understand how much it costs, because people will be like, well, it's just this. Well, it's just to add the pipe here. Well, it's just this. And it's so much more than that. And there's no just to it. Then it's more than what you think it is. It's going to cost more than what you do. Then there's quality of materials and labor. So cabinets, for example, we deal with many different size cabinets. And so there's stock cabinets. When they talk about stock cabinets, you're talking about a 34-inch cabinet, a 36-inch cabinet, 38-inch cabinet, whatever, 48-inch cabinet, very, very, very stock cabinets. We're dealing with 9-inch cabinets. We're dealing with these different dividers and rollouts and different colors, soft close drawers, and doors. We're dealing with different heights, under cabinet molding, crown molding, panels, huge custom hoods over cooktops, custom designs that require a lot of different attention, as opposed to simply just having a few colors to choose from, only having standard size cabinets, minimal trim, and a stock hood. I'll tell you, for our cabinet layout, our architect, our cabinet guys, appliance guys, electricians, HVAC, interior trim, and plumbers all have to have the same cabinet specs in depth and review them in depth for them just to understand what they have going on as far as where the ductwork is going to go, where electrical outlets are going to need it, what is going into those cabinets, what kind of plumbing fixture is going on there, so we know how to drill the holes into the granite. There's so many different things that happen, whereas opposed to making the island 8 foot wide, that's it. You get an 8 foot slab that goes on top of it, and you move on. Pretty simple. Our flooring is usually 4-inch wide oak, real hardwood, finished and sanded on a job. Our ceramic tile is anywhere from, just for the selection of the tile, not talking about labor and everything else that goes with it. The selection of the tile is between $4 and $60 a square foot, as opposed to 99 cents a square foot. For a lot of different things that happen there. And then it takes more labor and a different skill set to install these things. It's a lot. We have our appliances sometimes are $100,000, and a production style house, you're probably going to see more of $4,000, $8,000 or something. We have to have trained installers to install these appliances, and I mean trained from the manufacturers and trained from the distributor, because it's a huge deal to get these things in there. Some of those ovens that we use weigh almost 1,900 pounds. We have to design the house around it. We have to design the point loads around it. There's a lot of things that happen, and just because of our appliances, we in track building, you're constantly fighting for lower cost materials. Everything that you can possibly do to cut costs on those materials, to keep the prices of the home less expensive, to keep them. I shouldn't say not just less expensive, to keep them in the value of the market that the builder is targeting. That's probably the huge deal there, and which is, that these guys are really good at it. And when you go down and look down the street and you see a neighborhood being built by a track builder, people form a lot of opinions about those guys, which are not always positive. For me, I look at it from a different perspective because I know a lot of guys that work there, and there's super intelligent people that work there, and they've got a lot of processes and things, and it's a science that they've got down to a science. There's some things that I certainly don't live in that world. And there's reasons why, but there's things that they can do that I'm just like, man. And I know back in the day, Crest Communities, their goal was to get done framing a house, and all they had was a pile of sawdust sitting there. No cutoff, no dumpsters, no waste, no scrap, no nothing. Trying to get it down as minimal as possible. And what they're doing there is not shooting. I mean, everybody needs to make profit. And if you can make more profit, then we're going to celebrate. But they're hitting a target market for that price point. And that's really what those guys are doing. Understanding that is a big deal for the general public. I think that's something that everybody needs to understand. We want to pay more to get a better product. And most builders wouldn't say that. And my dad certainly would have never said that. I'm looking to pay more money for better stuff. So I don't want to have a concrete guy that is going to come in here at $8 a square foot, and he's going to provide me the same shitty job as a guy that's doing this for 65 cents a square foot. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if I'm going to pay a guy $8 a square foot, then I never hear from that cat again. I never have any problems with concrete. He's out there, got it graded. He's got it compacted. He's using chairs under the rebar. Everything's perfect. I mean, I go out on the job and these guys are clean cut. They're having conversations. They're meeting with the homeowners. They're doing everything, which is unbelievable and unheard of. So that's what I'm talking about. Even when you're talking about a product, you got to get more if you want me to. I got to get more if you want me to pay more. I grew up in a world where you constantly pay less and you're constantly disappointed with what you got, and that's not the world that I want to live in, I guess. Advantages of production style homes, the cost going into the process. I mean, it up front because they have standard plans, they have standard packages, and they can say, yep, this is it, this is it, this is it. And you can look at it and go, okay, this is what I'm probably going to spend plus my selections. It's pretty easy. The disadvantages, you have minimal selection, you have minimal freedom. If you want to do 2 paint colors, that's all you get. If you got to paint it later on, you can't expand the house. You can't pull this out. You can't do anything. I can't speak to the quality, like I said, of any one type of builder or another. This is all builder specific, and not necessarily production versus custom, because custom does not mean, and I've said this on this podcast before, custom does not mean high quality, because there's so many people that throw this word custom around out there who suck at what they do, and they're not custom. You can't change a Formica countertop out on an island to a granite countertop and be like, oh, we customized that house, because you didn't. And so that quality thing is builder specific is what I'm talking about. The advantage to, like I said, the advantage to custom homes, you get what you want and where you want. It's a blank slate. And usually it's more of a process and a team partnership that we do together when you're talking about custom homes. The disadvantage of building a custom home, you rarely know the numbers up front. I can guess at it and look at it, and I have this conversation with my customers all the time when we're making a proposal. Here's what we think it's going to cost. Do you want to move forward? We don't know the exact cost of it until we get the plans completed and we price it out and we present you with that number. And it takes a lot of work and takes some money to get to that point. So that's a disadvantage to get to building a custom house. And I say that plainly and clearly, not to scare anybody off, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that, because it's heartbreaking if that conversation wasn't had for customers. So cost, where does it escalate? Why does it escalate? Let's look at the labor. Some guys just raise their prices every year, no matter what. And I mean trades and suppliers. With that, they claim insurance increases, pay raises for their employees, cost of living. I hate increases because I think a lot of them are just unjustified, specifically due to labor. I think guys just say, I want to make more money. Instead of me producing more, I'll just raise my prices. That's stupid. But some are justified. I had a carpenter years ago, super guy, and just, great carpenter. We were paying him, on the house. So there's always these additional things that we pay different square footage prices for. But on the main house, we were paying him $3 a square foot. And he came to me and he said, hey, I'm having a hard time finding labor, having a hard time finding help. And I want to buy a Lowell, which is a big 4-wheel drive forklift, which will eliminate 2 men on his crew. But he wanted to charge me more money per square foot. And I'm sitting there going, man, this is my main carpenter. He's the key to our team. I don't want to lose him. So yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pay him more money. And yeah, I want him to get that machine, and I want him to be able to benefit in his business. And we paid double the number on the square footage price. And I wouldn't go back and look at it, do anything different, because we were probably a little low on our price per square foot at the time. This was a long time ago. And he was probably a little high, but it evened out. So, I have a wall guy who gives us a ridiculously high increase every year. And it's just in a form of a letter. We don't have a conversation, doesn't come and meet me. So he's done it in the past, but most of the time now it's just like, I'm giving you an increase. He does a great job for us. He does high quality, and I'm really good friends with him, and I want to keep him going, and I don't want to sacrifice quality, for price, but each year he slips a little bit further and further away from me because of the rate in which he increases. So I can understand increasing, but some of these rates that he increases at are stupid expensive. And I have to go looking, and because I'm protecting the prices for my customers. When is too high? Too high. That's up to me and the market to decide. In all of this, the market sets your price. So I can't come in and just be like, yep, my house is, I'm proud. And Jeff Whelan built that house, so it's more money. It doesn't work that way. The price of these homes are what they are based on the market price. I don't get to make any more money on these houses because I'm doing a better job than most builders. There's a shitty builder out there, and then there's a high quality builder. They're probably making nearly the same money because of the market. If you're selling cars, boats, 2x4s, or houses, the market sets the price. Let's look at materials. So material increases are something altogether different. And many manufacturers deal with regulations, government regulations, labor, materials that they need to make our materials. So I get it, however, again, when the increases get to be too much, I go shopping. When the increases on the labor and material simply come in a form of a letter or a text, I go shopping. I'm trying to control the cost to our customers. As my good friend Sonny Loader, boat salesman, great, Loader's Marine here it was in Fairfield, Ohio. He's one of the single greatest salesmen that ever lived. But he would say, hey, anybody will buy anything as long as the price is right. And isn't that the truth? Gary Schwalbach would say the same thing. Number one Cadillac salesman in the entire world. I don't drive a Cadillac. I just know Gary, and he is one of the greatest salespeople that ever lived. I hope in your lifetime, if you know who I'm talking about, you get to meet this guy. But these two guys are incredible salesmen, and they're right. Sonny also used to say, your money is in your customer's pocket, and it's up to you to get it out of there. That's another classic line. So enough of that already. So lumber is a traded commodity. So that number goes up and down all the time. People always are coming up to me and asking me, hey, what's the lumber look like right now? Because it's the biggest number on the cost sheet, lumber is. And it's definitely something. There's so many components that go to lumber buying. And I was in a seminar, me and my good friend Alan Schmidt were in Seattle at a seminar for our buying group several years ago, and they were talking about lumber mills, and there's a fall off of lumber, so when they cut trees up, and there's a certain amount of scrap that comes along with these trees. So when you're up north, and then what would happen is they'd set up a paper mill down the street from the lumber mill, because we're using dimensional lumber for our houses. They're using other kind of lumber for paper, but then they're using the fall off of that lumber for tissues and paper towels and toilet paper and all these different things. And so when the lumber prices get stupid, and this mill over here that they're sitting down there talking about, that they're shutting it down, or they're because they say, hey, we have to either remodel our facility, which is going to be $30 million, or things are getting so crazy right now with lumber that we're going to just shut it down because we're old. We want to retire, which then screws up the toilet paper and market up here. And then these guys don't have them to sell it to either because they're going to shut it down. And then it just blows this whole market into pieces. And so just something like that is not necessarily a commodity traded up and down. It's a matter of decisions made by these business owners that they have to make, that they get forced to make. So that lumber, I know that was kind of a fast, quick story, but it was a long story when they told it to us, and it stuck in my head for a long time. There's a lot of different factors that come into pricing of these materials. Concrete has chemicals in it, additives that come from Mexico and other areas that have tariffs on them that the government screws with. It drives that price up and down, and sometimes they can't get it over in the spring, coming into the summer here, or maybe it was even in the fall last year. These guys couldn't get their cement up here, and because there was something going on with the rail cars, with the trains, and then they're like, okay, well, we're going to send a semi down there to get it. Well, the diesel fuel was too expensive, and so they were struggling, and it was really screwed some things up, and it drives the price of concrete up. The parts, components in our windows, HVAC units, appliances, they come from outside of the United States. So a lot of times people say made in the USA. It's probably put together in the USA, but it's not all made in the USA. Manufactured in the USA. So those things, when you come into shipping, when the shipping containers are sitting in the bay for 8, 9, 10 months and not being able to be unloaded, that screws up our timeline, screws up everybody that's going on this job, screws up the cost of everything because we have to go start looking for how we're going to get it. That drives the prices up too. Just look at the price of gas and diesel. Again, I'm talking about gas and diesel fuel. Somebody who drives to work back and forth and maybe does some stuff on a weekend or in the evenings, you're talking about maybe a tank a week, maybe two. We have our pickup trucks that we put more than 35 gallons of diesel fuel in every other day. We have our track hoe that we dig our basements in with, that we're putting 80 gallons of fuel in that thing per day. So in all of our equipment, we still have 2 or 3 other pieces of equipment that adds up quick. I mean, it really starts to burden you. So then you look at our guys out there who have 25 employees, 10 employees. They're driving to the job. Their prices start getting dinged by this gas prices if it keeps climbing. Their deliveries, driving these trucks all over the city, their prices start climbing. They start getting hit with these fuel prices, and it starts to hurt them. So then they start increasing their prices on the delivery of our materials. So, there's some of these items, they increase the cost each year, and I have to be the bearer of bad news to a lot of customers out there. Prices usually don't come back down. So people say, I'm going to wait and see if the numbers come back down. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because it rarely happens that way. Unless you're begging for me and my family to suffer in the middle of a recession so you can get a better deal, which is just evil. It's probably not going to happen. The numbers just don't fall back down to where everybody goes, oh man, it's been 5 years and now it's less expensive. No way. So just keep that in mind. That's I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. But don't forget, in our podcast with Isaac Sievers, the superintendent of Lebanon schools, we were talking about school levies. And why do you have school levies? And people go nuts over school levies. They're anti-levy because they feel like they're paying enough and all this and that. And Isaac made a good point. He said, hey, we have expenses that increase. We have things that go up. He was talking about diesel fuel in the school buses. That's one sector of those entire school district that drives so much of the cost. The maintenance on those machines, the oil that goes into them, all the things that happen, the safety precautions they have to go through, drive the price up. So they have increases. So I see both sides of it. While I hate increases, and I don't want to pay any more increases, I have to be realistic and understand where they're coming from. So let's look at the flip side of it. What are we doing? What am I doing to save costs on these projects to try and prevent increases from really killing everybody in the long run? Number one, we have a buying group that we're part of. And there's with a lot of friends of mine who are builders in Southwest Ohio here. This is a national group called CBUSA. We are a part of it, and we all buy our materials from the same manufacturer. So we made a guaranteed buy on shingles from the same manufacturer, from ABC Supply right now is who we buy them from. And so we go in there and operate like a $500 million a year company and say, hey, we want to buy all of our shingles from you. We have terms that we have to abide by. They have terms that they have to abide by, and we hopefully get a better deal and pass those costs on to our, pass those savings on to our customers. We do that with drywall. We do it with lumber. We do it with all kinds of materials, trying to keep the price down. We do guaranteed pay times. So we'll do a 2 for 10, which if we pay our bill within 10 days, we get 2% discount on it. And hopefully that saves some money. And that adds up to be a lot of money on some of these projects. We work with our trades to better understand what we can do to increase efficiencies for them and for us. So I go up to them and say, hey, what can we do better for you? And they're like, what? I said, what can we do better for you? Because I need to know if we're sucking up the dirt out there and we're selling you the job's ready and you get there and it's never ready and you don't trust us and we're not doing a good enough job for you to be able to get there and perform at your best. Well, then you're probably going to be like, when next time you bid a job for me, you're going to be like, oh, it's a wheeling job. Oh gosh. And you're just going to hike the price up. But if it's a job where it's a wheeling job and you know that it's ready, when I'm running a job, these guys can guarantee that it's ready when I say it's going to be ready, and we're going to work through it. We've communicated that. I want a better price for that, because I don't want you to be charging me the same price where a guy takes 90 days to pay you. A guy's jobs site always look like, hell froze over there just before you got there, and things like that. I want a better price. So that's what we're trying to do on our end, is be a better builder for our trade partners. And then we look at structural material, and now we're not breaking down to the bare minimum on these on the building code and trying to do those kind of things, but we are looking at, hey, if we got a 4-ply LVL where we could probably get by with, something less, because some structural engineer overkilled it. We want to do that. We want to look at our floor joist systems and do we really need an eye joist in there when we can get by with a dimensional lumber, or can we just run all floor trusses through there instead of switching back and forth on some of these? We can look at some of our roof lines. We can look at different things that are going to try and make it easier to frame, less expensive on the materials. Those things, that's a pretty tough task right there, because we want these houses to be unique. We want them to be cool as can be, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're using our materials to the best of what we can do. So now I'll do all of this stuff. I'll make all of these different things. I'll do all these kind of things to try and save money for our customers. I'll try and keep the numbers down, and then I'll get an increase on gravel. And then I'll get an increase on cabinet installation, or somebody will charge me a stupid amount of money for some kind of installation, and I have to make up for it. It's all these different things. So if we don't watch every penny, then the pennies turn into dollars, and then you end up sideways because your numbers are too high. My dad always said, if you watch your pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. And I always told him that Ray Charles used to say, if you think pennies, you're going to get pennies. If you think dollars, you're going to get dollars. But he's right. I mean, you got to watch every penny, because they turn into a lot of money over time. And so I save, because even though I'm so hopeful for that number to go down for our customers, there's always going to be a kick in the teeth somewhere where it comes back up, and it usually balances itself out. So I know this is a lot of babble about numbers, but I hope it gives you some insight on how things operate in the building world. I think the thing I hate the most about paying more for something is rarely am I paying more and getting more. If I'm building a home with a builder and I want a certain countertop, or I want a great window, or a door, or something specific, I'm glad to pay that number, because it's what I want, and you're giving it to me. So I'll pay for it. I'm not going to pay a stupid amount of money, but I'll pay for it. But I'm not going to pay, like I said, I'm not going to pay a concrete finisher $8 a square foot to finish concrete when when he gets all done. I'm like, well, that's a horrible job, and I got that for 65 cents a couple of weeks ago. It just doesn't work that way. As your builder, I have to protect you and your money, along with building you the highest quality home as possible. And so, these numbers, I hope this explains to you. Escalation of pricing is an unfortunate part of life. My advice for you is to be sure you're getting more for your money if you are paying more. And don't forget to remember our podcast that we had about what a custom builder and what custom means to you. And because it's a big deal to be sure that you're getting, if you're paying custom prices, that you're getting a custom home. So that's really all I got for pricing and cost. I wish I had somebody here to ask me questions about things that if I'd love to know what the general public wants to know about cost on things in general, because I dive into this pretty deep all the time, and I hope I would have an answer for you, but I hope it would also clarify for other people out there thinking that things are just too expensive when in general they're already expensive. But what does too expensive mean to you, and where does that come from? So this is this is our podcast on the cost and the price of things for building houses. Hey, thanks again, everybody, for listening. And if you want to reach out to me, and I hope you would have some questions on this topic today, or if you want to join our show at any point in time, you want to be a part of it, email me at wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com. That's wbdownload@wieland builders.com. And if you want to check out more of Wieland Builders, go to our website at wielandbuilders.com and see awesome houses that we build and the projects that we have going on. I hope you caught our most recent article in House Trends magazine of our Mulberry Ridge home that we just completed for some really good friends of mine. It's an awesome project, and we're really proud of it. And I also want to thank everybody just for listening, tuning in, and don't forget that we drop our episodes on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of every month. And next month, or next podcast here, I promise to have a guest better than me on here. But hey, if you see my mom out, Sue Whelan, in between now and the next episode, make sure you wish her a happy birthday. And we'll see you all next time. This is Jeff Whelan on WB Download.